If you're into men's fashion, but especially men's vintage fashion, I can guarantee that there is something you're neglecting, or at least that you've neglected in the past, that you seriously need to start thinking about in order to make your outfits better. That's what I'm going to be talking about today, and the topic of our discussion is going to be about pant rise. So the rise of a pair of pants is from the bottom of the crotch all the way to the top of the button. That would be the front rise, or in the back, it would be from the back bottom of the crotch all the way to the top of the back, which would be the back rise. And often on different pairs of pants, these numbers can be different, so it's important to take that into account because it will change the way that these pants fit. Rise is extremely important because it affects the way that pants sit on your body and will have a serious effect on the overall look of your outfits. This is especially important when you consider if you're trying to dress for a specific era or a specific look, because often the rise of your pants has a very big impact on actually achieving the look you're going for, increasing the overall depth and complexity of your outfits. So for the purposes of today's video, we're going to be separating rise into three categories: low rise, mid rise, and high rise. And within each of these categories, there's a little leeway up and down as far as there being super low rise or super high rise. But overall, most pants will be fitting into these categories, so that's what we'll be talking about today. The Gentleman's Gazette, which is a great fashion channel on YouTube, came up with this infographic that I'm going to be using to help you visualize rise in today's video. They also have a great video and an article written on pant rise as well. So you can see here, low rise is when it rests, pants rest at your hip bones, and the best thing therefore is for elongating your upper body. So if you see pictures of a lot of male models where their upper body just looks giant and ripped, it's because they're often wearing low rise pants, which makes their upper body seem even larger in comparison to the rest of their body, and it will elongate their torso. There's also mid-rise pants, which rest between your hips and your belly button, usually closer to your natural waist, and these give you a pretty even balance between lower and upper body, and these are the most timeless and ambiguous fit that there is, and these will work with the most overall styles and overall type of outfits. And then the final option is high rise or super high rise, and so this is where pants fit at or above your natural waist, which means they're sitting all the ways up and trending higher and higher towards your belly button, and even most high-rise pants would be sitting at your belly button or even higher, potentially all the ways up to your ribs. Like these pants I'm wearing today, they touch my lower rib. Rise is something that a lot of guys might not even know about, and especially a lot of guys don't even think about. This is a tragedy, honestly, because it's one of the single most important dimensions that affects the way your outfits look. This is something that girls have been aware of for a long time. You see tons of different rise options inside of girls' fits, and because of that, they're able to achieve a lot more depth and complexity in the way they wear their pants, and that's just something that us guys have not had access to until recently, when a lot more people have started to realize how important the rise on your pants are. So for the purposes of today's video, I really want to focus on my specific preference as far as rise goes and what I would recommend, which would be a mid to high rise for most people. The only way I would say you really want a low rise is if you're going for a specific late 90s, early 2000s look or something similar to that. And if that's your specific taste, that's great. That's just not really what I focus on, and so because of that, I won't be delving too far into that. I don't have a ton of advice as far as that goes. When it comes to mid or high rises, I do have more experience, and so I feel like I can give more insightful and meaningful advice when it comes to those. So I started wearing higher rises the more and more I got into fashion, and this first started off when I wore the iconic Dickies 874 pants, which are a really perfect mid to high rise pant, closer to the mid rise, and they fit right at your natural hips, and this is a great jumping off point for someone who's never really experimented with a higher rise before and wants to see all of the advantages it can have. One of the great advantages of wearing a higher rise pair of pants is that you can buy them looser, and because they fit higher up on your waist, they don't have to be as tight and they will fit better, and they will give you more room, and you can, for example, buy a larger size without having to wear a belt or tighten your belt as much, because it's usually up over your hips, so they hold themselves up better. When it comes to some practical quality of life benefits, when you're wearing higher rises, you don't really have to deal with things like plumber's crack or your pants falling down either, and they often stay up and stay in a better position, and your shirts will also stay tucked in much more neatly and much more easily throughout the day. So overall, it lowers the amount of maintenance you have to make on your pants in your outfit throughout the day, which is really great. So beyond just the general benefits of wearing high rises, the reason I really love high rise fits personally is because I strive for a really old and vintage looking aesthetic. And when you look at things like fashion plates or advertisements, anytime from the late 1800s to the mid-century 1900s, you will see a wide variety of men wearing very high-rise pants. And that is one of the most important parts of the look that helps you achieve a very old school or vintage looking look. Personally, I consider on my frame a mid-rise starts at about 12 to 13.5 inches, and a high-rise is anything beyond that. At that point, for me personally, the pants start to fit instead of at my natural waist significantly above and closer to my belly button. And so anything above that measurement, it gives me more of that classic fit that I'm striving for. If you're really trying hard to achieve a specific look, maybe from a specific era or a specific subculture, thinking about the rise of your pants is a super important thing to do, and it will help you be able to achieve these looks. For example, if you look at a lot of pants from the 70s, that's a really popular style that people like to recreate. You'll see that these pants have very, very high rises, but they have very tight top blocks. So what this means is that while the rise goes very high up their bodies, it's extremely tight the whole way. Alternatively, I like to strive for a more early 1900s look, and I have easily 2 inches of room in the top block in these pants. And so that makes them look a lot more loose and relaxed, and it gives me a closer look to that would have been worn in maybe the 1920s or the 1910s as far as workwear goes. You can even see really deep, intricate differences when it comes from decade to decade as style progresses. You see that pants in the early 1900s get shorter or higher as far as rise goes, but they never really drop below the natural waist until the 60s, as things like mod style and a lot of more slimmer and what are becoming more modern silhouettes start to become more and more popular. And this continues and goes on throughout the 70s, where high rise is still prevalent, into the 80s, where the lower or mid rise really starts to become a pushing trend, and then obviously that reaches the pinnacle in something like the early 2000s, where these insane low rises are extremely popular. As far as seeing how rise affects fit, I wanted to show you these 2 pictures of me wearing 2 different pairs of pants. The first are the Mr. Freedom 54 BB, and these have a mid-rise with what is on me, a relatively tight top block. You can see that it comes up, it looks like a balanced 50-50 between my upper and my lower body. Alternatively, the pants I'm wearing right now, and also in this second picture, are these Nigel Caborn Railman denim, and these are very similar to his farm pant fit, and these have an extremely high rise of over 16 inches, and so these go up and touch my ribs. And you can see that even though these are both blue jeans and they have belt loops and they have not a super different fit, that this rise and the width of the top block really affects the way the rest of the pants look and fit. And it leads to these second pants having a much more vintage and old school look, while the first pair of pants has a much more timeless, ambiguous look, but it also pushes more into the 50s and 60s style of jeans that became very popular and became the building blocks for the way we often think about pant fit now. So to finish it all off, I personally think that when you're thinking about rise, you really want to think about the style you're trying to go for and consider, first of all, the practical applications, whether or not a higher or lower rise is going to be more comfortable for you and the way you live your life. And then secondarily, to think of how a specific rise will help you achieve the look you're going for. Usually higher rises being for more vintage styles, mid rises for really timeless styles, and the lower rises are often more contemporary. And really deciding how you're going to use those and to achieve different outfits. Just because I personally advocate one style doesn't mean that you won't look great in multiple different ones. I personally choose to stick to one kind of style because that's what I really like. But there are tons of people who like different extensive rise or different roominess in their top blocks. A great example of this is Dave from the Vintage Future. He has pants from the Flathead or from Black Sign that have really high rises, and then he also has pants that have more mid rises, and he has different widths in his top blocks, and overall it creates a signature style that is extremely consistent for him but creates great variation in his outfits. So if you want to see someone who really understands the advantages of wearing different rises and how to do so, you should go check out his videos or his Instagram, and you'll see great examples of that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you disagree with me on anything, or if you think I missed on any of these opinions or my analysis. And let me know if you guys enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you. See you next time.